Hello, I'm hosting my friends Alex Cat and A Shield for Men. We're
Hello.
gonna
Hello.
do we're gonna we're gonna do a reply video, and there's a reason why we're doing this. This is not just picked out at random. So we are basically a left wing movement. Okay, we're actually antithetical to the right because the right's anti intellectual and solipsistic and putting the morals aside from it, let's just flip it from a utilitarian point of view. The right wing is useless. It's not going to go anywhere, right? So it's not going to go anywhere fighting for men's rights. So we got to have a left wing style analysis for our on a systematic material level. But the problem is the mainstream left is feminist and it's hypocritical and it's full of shit, and they enable neoliberals who are not even really left wing because they're trans and repeating feminist talking points. They just let them into their movement and they don't challenge them until they say really extreme things and support Zionism.
Yes.
Right? That's when they're going too far. But the problems with ContraPoints was there from the start, which we'll see later on. Okay, so this is ContraPoints being called out by a spooky streaming socialist by a socialist. So.
Yeah. So we'll play it then.
Mhm.
Something I want to talk about, and something that's lived rent-free in my head, is this bad history take I ran into a long time ago, which is Marie Antoinette was good, actually, that she was wrongfully executed. And so in this clip, I want to talk about, did Marie Antoinette actually deserve to be beheaded? The answer will surprise you. I'm going to run over the argument real quick. And so this argument...
So it's not even like, did she deserve to do? Did she, by the standards of the time, bring it on herself? Was there anything unusual about her execution? Right, and she lived in a world where the death penalty was common, right, and the death penalty for treason was very common. Okay, like she lived in a time period when torture was still going on. Like French monarchs had people tortured to death, like drawn and quartered. I'm not sure if it happened in her lifetime or not, but definitely in recent history. I think there was definitely some. Yeah, there was definitely some in the 18th and 17th century. Like people tried to assassinate the king or drawn and quartered. So by the standards of the time, there's absolutely nothing unusual by her execution whatsoever.
Yes.
The reason it lives rent-free in my head is because I ran into it in a ContraPoints video, something she uploaded like 4 years ago. This is her in her Marie Antoinette cosplay, LARPing as Marie Antoinette. And so this is the argument that she basically makes in the video. Marie Antoinette was a victim of circumstance, misogynistic slander, and wrongfully executed by the French revolutionaries. And so ContraPoints isn't the first person to come up with this argument. It's something that a lot of feminist reinterpretations of French revolutionary history talk about. And so I'm going to play the clip where ContraPoints is making...
So this is feminism being reactionary, which is not a surprise because it is reactionary. It either poses as progressive, but when it will always reveal itself to be reactionary. So misogynistic, there's no such thing as misogyny. So there can't be misogynistic slander. There was political slander against her, but it was the standard of the time, right? And it's still the standard for men of the time, right? Political slander is done against political opponents. Okay,
Yes.
so yes,
We
she'll,
can,
Mm.
yes.
Yeah, he doesn't show any
special
evidence.
women. Yeah, sorry, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, he doesn't show, or like the socialist guy, he doesn't show any evidence that Marie Antoinette was misogynistically slandered, and neither does ContraPoints, right?
Yeah.
It's just presupposed, right?
Yes.
Just because, like,
So because a woman's hated or something's done to her doesn't make it misogyny. It makes the term misogyny meaningless. Like, something's done from like if two men have an argument and one punches the other one in the face, that's not necessarily misandry, is it?
No.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Making this argument, and I am going to evaluate it based on the historical evidence.
In the years leading up to and during the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette was constantly defamed.
Pause. Oh, I want to make so there's a video on. I've actually seen this video. There's a very reactionary video by ContraPoints called Envy. It was basically the whole point of the video is that you shouldn't envy the rich, right? Because it's counterproductive. So the working class are not allowed to envy their oppressors, or it's not even not allowed to. It's that the fact that the working class complaining about their oppression is envy of their oppressors, and envy is bad. It's just sour grapes. That's a very, very reactionary argument. There's nothing left wing about ContraPoints whatsoever, at all.
And I want to draw the comparison to feminism at this point, because feminists constantly say that men complaining about their issues is just misogyny and they're just resentful towards women and they're hating women, right? It's the same logic that right-wingers apply when people complain about capitalism.
Yes.
Yes.
Sleazy tabloids called libelle is the same root as the English word libel. The often pornographic libelle depicted the queen as a bisexual demon who was constantly having drunken orgies and sexually manipulating everyone around her, all of which is very interesting.
Cool. So that happens to male politicians right now, or powerful men right now. They get the thing is, literally, men can just flirt with a woman online or just interact with a woman online, right, in a minimally flirtatious manner, and people lose their minds over it and slander him, right? And it happens to politicians, it happens to YouTubers, it happens to Twitch streamers, right? So, and there's all sorts of rumors spread about men right now. So she's complaining about something that's happening to one woman, and men in the current era get it worse than Marie Antoinette did back then, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah.
But none of which is true. The historian Robert Darnton called it an avalanche of defamation that has no parallel in the history of vilification. This woman took the blame, the moral blame, for the structural failings of a broken economic system. And by the time she was brought before the Revolutionary Tribunal in 1793, the actual person Marie Antoinette had long ago been overshadowed by the libelous caricature of her. Now there was maybe one good reason for executing the former queen, which is that the legitimacy of your new republic is a little more secure when you don't have living monarchs hanging around. Someone better tell the English. But the problem with that reasoning is...
Yes.
So this is out of context. Like you'll see later on in the video, ContraPoints, this is a standard feminist tactic actually. It's the bread and butter of feminism. Feminism either lies or it tells a half-truth out of context. So she's telling a half-truth and it's out of context. She's removing a context that's critical to the situation. So this is exactly the same as lying.
Yeah.
Actually.
ContraPoints is pretending that the French Revolution just hated the guts of the king and queen. But you're going to find out that's not quite the case.
Has nothing to do with whether or not the queen deserved to die. And beheading a recently widowed mother of two in front of a jeering crowd for political expediency might weigh a little heavy on the conscience.
Pause. So that's female supremacist language, and it's like basically she's a mother of two. It's very manipulative. So she's an extra human. She's a mother of two. It's an even greater tragedy. So yeah, so that means the king, when he was executed, he was a father of two as well. You see how it's special pleading for women?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's female supremacy.
Yes.
The revolution had to convince themselves that the queen deserved it, which was pretty easy after decades of, again, false and defamatory gossip. In her biography of Marie Antoinette, Antonia Fraser describes how the prison guards separated Marie from her 8-year-old son, who they plied with alcohol and groomed into accusing his own mother of incestuous abuse. To justify killing Marie Antoinette, they had to destroy the idea of this woman as a mother. So she was convicted of what may as well have been crimes against ethics in games journalism and sent to the...
Pause. So that's a passive-aggressive jab at Gamergate there. Basically, it's just she wasn't accused of anything serious. It might as well be an accusation about ethics in gaming and journalism, because that's what Gamergate was about. And we've seen what happens when feminists take over gaming. So you've got feminist censorship, feminist vandalism, uglification, feminists wanting to get Steam banned, right? The Online Verification Act, because they want to make it so you have to like dox yourself and provide your face to play Steam games. That comes from feminism. So gaming's getting trashed, and this is what feminism. I remember back in the day, like chill. We don't want to censor your games. This is just a feminist critique. Chill.
Yes.
The articles actually said that, right?
Yeah.
And then they started censoring.
Yes.
Literally, feminists were giving death threats to censor games. Cyberpunk Ghost Story. Chill. We don't want to censor your games. And suddenly it's, we die, incel. We're going to kill you, incel. You misogynist, incel. How dare you objectify women, incel. So this is pure. So this is what happens when you enable feminism and they're gaslighting. It destroys everything.
Yeah, Anita Sarkeesian was all about, all these gamers are misogynists for ogling at attractive women in games. It's like, it was just pure hostility. So,
and also, it was even worse than that. It's when they made women more masculine, right? She says, "Oh no, that's just putting stereotypical male traits into females. That's bad." So she's a real, that's a real psychopathic double bind. That's a sign of a psychopath.
Yes,
when they do that.
Yes, just smearing men, smearing gamers, no matter what. So it's like, she's ContraPoints is linking Gamergate to this queen, her name.
Just taking a passive aggressive jab at Gamergate.
Yeah,
that's all she's doing.
Linking things that have nothing to do with each other. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Guillotine, where her last words were sorry to the executioner for stepping on his foot. Women stop apologizing challenge. This is what a girl boss winning.
Pause. That's nonsense. So it's very common for executed people to be very polite and humble and apologize to people. Like is it Thomas Cromwell apologized to King Henry when he was the 8th? Was it the 8th? King Henry VI, when he was executed. Or was it Henry VIII? It was Henry VIII. He apologized to Henry VIII when he was executed by him. Right? I think King Charles I apologized to the people as well when he was executed. Right? It's just standard things that monarchs did because they wanted to leave. They wanted to leave it an image of prosperity of them being humble. Right?
Yes.
To history. It's nothing to do with like a female apologizing for everything. Bullshit.
Yes.
Looks like. So Marie Antoinette literally did nothing wrong. Hey, how are you?
So there are valid points buried in her discussion of Marie Antoinette. Marie Antoinette indeed did have anger against the French monarchy as a whole displaced onto her personally. So because a lot of, regular French people couldn't just say, I hate the king, they displaced that anger onto Marie Antoinette the person. And yes, misogyny did play a big role in the libel that was spread about her. ContraPoints does not mention, the other big factor, which was...
So what?
So pause. Again, we got to call out the word, use of the word misogyny. So the problem is, you can't be angry, you can't be hostile to a particular individual woman, right? Otherwise, that's misogyny. It's problematic. It's a fucking bizarre standard.
Yes.
Right? It's like saying, you can't hate on Adolf Hitler because he's white. That's anti-white racism. It's that fucking same level of logic, right? Yeah. You can hate certain people of every single demographic, right? And it's not racism or it's not sexism, it's not prejudice, right? Okay? If a Chinese man walks up to you and smacks you in the gob and you just hate that one particular Chinese man, that's not racism, okay?
Yes.
By the same token, if you hate one particular man, that's not misandry. And if you hate one particular woman, that's not misogyny.
Yes.
Okay? It's a fucking bizarre standard that people have accepted. It's more proof that the word misogyny is not real. It's a watered-down meaningless word that should be rejected 100%.
Yeah, great.
Correct. And like Marie Antoinette being slandered as someone who sleeps around and who's promiscuous and has all these orgies, I'm pretty sure there were also men at the time who were slandered in the same way or in a similar way.
Yes.
And they wouldn't say this is misandry. And
yes. Like, so Spooky Socialist is gonna explain why Marie Antoinette does deserve to have hatred for her specifically. Ironically,
it doesn't even deserve. I don't even need to frame it like that. Whether she deserved it or not, he's gonna explain why it happened. Right? It's not an unusual thing. It's not particularly because she's a woman. Remember, the king was executed as well.
Yes.
He was executed as well.
Yes, but we'll see as we go into this.
Yes.
Austrophobia. A lot of the conspiracies about Marie Antoinette wasn't just that she was this woman who was like sexually promiscuous, but that she was specifically, you know, Austrian-born, an Austrian-born queen who was conspiring with foreign powers. You know, this logic was very much rooted in the good Tsar, bad boyar idea. Like in the early French Revolution, a lot of people were like, King Louis, he's a good king. You know, the King Louis is on our side. It's actually the people around him that are bad. One of the bad boyars obviously happened to be Marie Antoinette, right? In the popular imagination of the French revolutionaries. I'm not going to say everything ContraPoints or Natalie said was wrong. You know, there are valid points buried in that. The problem comes when she talks about, did Marie Antoinette deserve to be beheaded? Yes, yes, she did. Very obviously, she committed treason, right? And so this is going to be my thesis for this little clip here. This feminist reinterpretation of history ironically removes agency from Marie Antoinette as an active perpetrator of treason
Pause.
against.
This is not ironic. Feminist history always, or very often, removes agency from women. They always portray women as victims of men, victims of patriarchy, and things like this, right? So never is anything the result of women's choice or women's decisions, right? In the
Yes.
feminist interpretation of history.
Yes. It's like, feminist history is that women are perpetual victims. You know, men are perpetual perpetrators.
I've noticed that there's one thing there's one little thing I've noticed as well. When women are not lacking agency, but they do something bad, they're actually often celebrated. Actually, right? Because I've seen like really bad women. I'm trying to remember the top of my head. Who's that Hungarian noblewoman who raped and murdered lots of women? There's a myth about like she like killed virgin women according to the myths and bathed in their blood. It was based on a real female serial killer, right?
I'm afraid that escapes me.
I can't remember the name, but so anyway, I've seen feminists trying to portray her in a positive manner, right?
Yeah.
She was like transgressing against gender norms, and she was falsely accused. She was probably innocent, which is probably bullshit, right? Because it took a lot to accuse a noble. Like literally, dozens and dozens of women were disappearing, right? Okay, like the peasants were starting to complain about her, right? So it probably wasn't a false accusation. And there's other cases of women doing evil stuff. I'm trying to think of examples. Women like do evil stuff, and the woman says, "Oh yeah, she's like empowered. She's transgressive against gender norms, blah blah blah." They try to celebrate it. They're basically saying, "Oh yeah, well that's like evil for once. That's based." That's what they're basically saying.
Feminists celebrate the female serial killer, Eileen Wuornos. I think that's her name. Yeah.
Yes.
And also, Indira Gandhi is a feminist icon, right? And she forcibly sterilized millions of Indian men.
Yes.
That's an act of sexual reproductive violence that's never been matched by anyone male. In fact, the only thing that's comparable to it, and it's probably in far lower numbers because India's got a high population, it's a Nazi sterilization of the disabled, right? That's the only thing that's comparable in my mind that I can think of. So, yeah.
Yes.
A revolution that merely had reforms in mind. By 1791, the French Revolution wasn't Republican. The French Revolution's goal was a constitutional monarchy. Even during that moderate period of the early French Revolution, Marie Antoinette was still actively plotting treason. She wasn't doing it for self-preservation, she was doing it because she loved her privilege as a monarch. She, even more so than the king, despised the revolution and aimed to violently crush it with the help of invading foreign armies. Yes, you can say...
So pause. So this is feminists supporting a reactionary, a bigoted reactionary who wanted to defend her privilege and was willing to slaughter and kill to hold on to their privilege. And that's very common with reactionaries, actually, right? For all that history, they when their privilege is under threat, they'll kill and destroy. They get very aggressive.
Yes. There was nothing noble about this woman. She was just a complete autocrat.
Yes.
Antoinette was indeed the victim of a libelous slander campaign motivated by misogyny as well as Austrophobia. But that, at the end of the day, she was
the evidence that is motivated by misogyny? Where's the evidence?
Yeah, there's no evidence.
And also that there was actually there's also an element of sexual titillation to it as well, with those drawn pictures. And I promise you as well, I bet you it was mostly women who bought that stuff and got off on it. Actually, I promise you that now. Right, because women love gossip, right? So that's designed to appeal to women and sell to them. I promise you that now.
Yes.
Committing treason. Like, what this history of the French Revolution really fails to talk about is the fact that the French Revolution was a process of radicalization. No one was a Republican at the early point of the revolution. And so this idea that the monarchs had to die for the Republic, like, a lot of that doesn't make any sense because, you know, the revolution was not pro-Republic at this point, right? Once again, people thought the king was good, he just had bad advisors. And so you look at this early point of the revolution, Marie Antoinette hated even the tiny bit of constitutional monarchy that the revolution was trying to implement. And this is what a historian, The Coming of the Terror in the French Revolution by Timothy Tackett. This is what Timothy Tackett, an academic historian, has to say about the topic. The king had been deeply troubled by the revolution, and he was unable to reconcile himself to the loss of the power and prerogatives of the old regime. If we can believe the memoirs of one of his ministers, he merely made a pretense of cooperation with the patriots while waiting for the new regime to collapse in anarchy from his own unworkable schemes. Yet his own royal consort, the Austrian Princess Marie Antoinette, was far less passive in the face of events. As early as 1789, she urged the king to leave Paris, and by late 1790, she and her friend and probable lover, the Swedish Count Axel von Fersen, were making detailed plans for the king to escape to Austrian territory. Keep in mind, by the way.
So this is the context that ContraPoint's removed from a video, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is treason. Okay, and this is why she was executed. So this is a feminist lying. Feminists lie. Feminist history can be completely discounted. So I was having a talk in a Discord group like a week ago with someone, right? And I said there was a feminist report about sexual assault, and I just discounted it completely. They said, "Oh, you're extremist. Why are you discounting it?" Because I said I don't see any evidence for it, and it's reported by feminists. Therefore, it's completely false until I see evidence otherwise. You see, this is why it's not extreme to reject feminist narratives. Okay, rejection of feminist narratives should be the default.
Yes.
As I once said years ago, if a feminist told me the sky was blue and I looked out the window and I saw it was blue, I would still assume it was red and I would just assume I'm colorblind. That's how often feminists lie. Okay?
Yes.
Just to give a few quick examples of how feminists leave out historical context when they make claims. So, for example, they say women couldn't have bank accounts and things like this before the 1970s, which is a complete lie. Okay, they could. Now, what is true is that sometimes they needed a man to co-sign a loan at the bank. And this wasn't even like government policy. This was just a local banking sort of policy, right?
Yeah.
That banks wanted that because they wanted a consistent stream of repayment, right? They wanted a guarantee on the loan, right? And back in the day, it was mostly men working, especially full-time. So it made economic sense, right? Feminists leave out the economic history, the economic context out of this, and they just frame it as misogyny. Oh, these banks, they were just evil misogynists, not letting women have these loans without the male co-signer, right?
Yes.
But they're leaving out...
Mate, can I point out some historical context as well? So not having a positive right to a bank account is not the same as having no right to a bank account. Okay, they're not the same thing. They're actually completely different. Their magnitude's different. Their magnitude's different, right? So let me give you an example. In the UK, Gordon Brown, how many prime ministers ago was that? It was like 4 prime ministers ago now, I think, right? In the early 2000s, Gordon Brown, okay, passed a law giving people a right to a bank account because homeless men were struggling to get bank accounts and they needed them. Okay, so he passed a law to give them a right to a bank account. So do you see how that's out of context, right? Not having a positive right to something is not the same as not having a right to something. Okay, women were never told you can't have a bank account. That's not. You see what I mean? There's a massive difference between not positive and negative rights in this situation. Women were never barred from having a bank account. Okay.
Yes.
Right. And there's countless of other examples, like also the women's voting thing. They leave out the context that most men also couldn't vote, right?
Yes.
And it was tied to property. It was like, upper class
Yes.
people who could vote mainly.
Yes.
Like, just feminists lie about history. They lie
Yes.
all the time. They just lie about everything. Yeah.
Yes.
This was a revolution that was calling for a constitutional monarchy, and Marie Antoinette was actively planning to escape to Austrian territory and invade with a foreign army. How the fuck is that not treason? And you know what? She actually did do treason, because these plans came into fruition during the flight to Varennes when the king and the royal family tried to flee Paris. King and queen attempted to flee Paris and crush the revolution in June 1791. They're infamously failed and are captured. And eventually, because the king and queen are so opposed to any actual attempt at reform, they're so opposed to even the idea of having checks on their power, of having a constitutional monarchy versus absolute power, that, the revolution turns to republicanism. The flight to Varennes was a radicalizing point for a lot of the French revolutionaries. It was a traumatizing moment because all of them were coping. They were like, oh, the king is good, he just has bad advisors. But when the king fled, he left this note basically telling the French revolutionaries that, hey, your project sucks, I hate it, I actually don't believe anything I signed, fuck you, fuck the revolution, I'm leaving Paris. And so the French Revolution really radicalized.
So this is a thing I've noticed in history. The powerful, the elites, and feminists behave like this as well. They think their promises mean nothing to the lower castes, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's very common behaviour. So again, they're completely untrustworthy.
Yes. Yeah.
At this point, they're like, holy fuck, the king is actually a dick and we don't like him and we want to have a republic. Eventually, the king is captured, he's returned, and they have this compromise in 1791. A lot of French revolutionaries at this point.
Sorry, I want to say they're captured and they're given another chance. And Marie Antoinette blows it. So they're given another chance, right? They're not executed. They're given another chance, and Marie Antoinette is still engaging in treason.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is nothing to do with misogyny whatsoever. She was actually she was given a lot of leeway.
Yes.
Actually, yeah.
She was really aggressively pushing for treason.
Yes.
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 Yeah, just in her own spite, not wanting to give up any amount of privilege, she would turn on her entire country. Yeah.
Yes.
Point are pissed off because the king tried to flee, but eventually they come to this constitution that is still a constitutional monarchy, right? And keep in mind, they have just been captured, they've been returned, and even at this point, Marie Antoinette was still actively engaging in treason, right? She was still an agent of treason. She was still working and encouraging other European powers to invade France and restore monarchy to its original power. This girl couldn't handle losing even an inch of power, and so she had to resort to begging other countries to invade France. This is another quote from Timothy Tackett. A fundamental problem for the settlement of 1791, the Constitution, was clearly the monarch himself. Louis had solemnly sworn to accept the new government in his role as executive authority, with powers not unlike those of the recently created American president. But in fact, both Louis and his queen...
Yes.
So basically, he had powers. Those powers are far stronger than the British constitutional monarchy, actually.
Yes.
Right? So it's still very powerful. It's an unelected role, and he's got powers similar to an American president. That's a lot of power, actually. Yes.
Yes. It's like when an American president wasn't quite the most powerful person at the time, but it would soon become. Yeah.
Continued to play a double game. They would secretly encourage the intervention of other European states to end a regime that the king had never genuinely accepted and to restore most of his former prerogatives and those of his loyal nobility. And this is another French historian, Marissa Linton. This is what she has to say about whether Marie Antoinette was ever guilty of a conspiracy against the revolution.
I didn't have much time to talk about the court, but Marie Antoinette certainly is conspiring against the French Revolution. She doesn't see it as conspiring. From her perspective, it's putting things right. But she was giving away the battle plans of the French armies. Yeah, she was doing that. And you can read Thomas Kaiser for that. Very clear on that. But of course, the French revolutionaries...
So she's giving away the battle plans of the French army. So she's a constitutional... She's a consort of the constitutional monarch, right? Okay, and she's giving away the battle plans. So she's getting her own subjects murdered in battle, killed in battle. That's very disgusting behaviour.
Yes.
Right? Very disgusting behaviour.
Yes.
So, yes. I can understand why they're really angry at her now and why she was executed.
Yes.
If I was a soldier in the army at the time, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hatred specifically for her because she was trying to get them killed. Yeah.
Yes.
Know that they weren't privy to the correspondence that she sent to Vienna, but they suspected it, and they were in that case right.
No, like that's the thing as well. The king's flight to Varennes, that's a big reason the revolution degenerated into conspiratorialism, because there actually were conspiracies against the French Revolution. And it's like, did Marie Antoinette deserve the guillotine? Let's look through the list of what she did. She engaged in treason against a revolution that did not existentially threaten the monarchy. She conspired with foreign powers to...
So I think feminists behave in the same way, right? They'll like plot and plan and betray men if they ever try to reduce their privilege even a little bit. So I think they'll behave in a similar way. So she engaged treason against a revolution that did not essentially threaten monarchy. Yes.
invade France and destroy the revolution. And keep in mind, if she had succeeded, the resulting war would have killed countless people. So yes, absolutely, she absolutely did deserve the guillotine because she was plotting treason. I'm all for feminist reinterpretations of history. I think a lot of history is very much male-centric, right? But it does get to a point.
Bullshit.
Yes. So he's just seen an example of feminists lying. Because I've noticed this is very common with feminists. You put socialist, but feminists as well, because he's a feminist, right? Okay, but socialists do this a lot. Socialist feminists do this a lot, right? So they've got like egalitarian beliefs. You point out countless examples of feminists being contrary to them, right? And that's just like one-off bad feminists, or not all feminists are like that, or that's not a real feminist. They'll just hand wave it away. They'll fail to see the obvious patterns of behaviour. So feminists have got a long-term history of attacking the left. That sees a Chaz Best guy that Trevor did a video about recently. That's a left winger being betrayed. They've got repeated patterns of betraying the left. Julian Assange was falsely accused by a feminist, probably on behalf of the CIA, right, or Western intelligence services. So feminists have falsely accused him, all right,
Yes.
and got him arrested and extradited. Okay, there's countless examples of left-wing figures being smeared by feminists. Okay, you got like feminists invading like left-wing parties and having like you're not allowed to speak before women policies in their parties. Okay, so there's countless examples of feminists being reactionary, lying about history, spreading disinformation, not being right-wing basically, and these left wingers just hand wave it away and fail to spot the patterns, and it gets on my fucking nerves.
Yeah.
Gets on my fucking nerves. Yeah.
You even had
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Huh?
You even had a
You
powerful
speak-
feminist with the CIA, Gloria Steinem, influential second wave feminist.
Yes.
yeah, and also the suffragettes, because even like many socialists actually admire or seem to admire the suffragettes, right? Like this one left winger you replied to, but the suffragettes, they were literally joining the British Union of Fascists, right? They were teaming up with fascists. Okay, and then there was also, of course, the White Feather campaign, right? And a lot of feminists joined that and supported that.
Yes. You had American women forming the Women's Ku Klux Klan in the 1920s, calling it empowering feminism. It's like, that's why we keep saying,
eugenic feminism was widespread, like in multiple countries, right? They had like weird beliefs about female supremacy and supremacy of motherhood. There's like all kinds of like nasty shit that feminists engaged in, right?
Yeah, and this is why we have a meme in the Promel Collective. It says, we say feminism is the gender KKK because they show that they are time and time again throughout their history.
Feminism are the gender bourgeoisie and their gender reaction as well. Feminism is the forces. Feminism is actually the core of the forces of reaction. Right? It's not coincidence that Nazism was about female worship and motherhood worship, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Point where it's just like mindlessly celebrating girl boss history, especially coming from ContraPoints herself, who, as we all know, is friends with Hillary Clinton. Not every woman in history is actually
Also, what does he mean by he's like all for feminist reinterpretation of history when the history that we get, like mainstream history, is nothing but feminist history, right? We constantly hear, oh, the patriarchy kept women down, and men were privileged throughout history and women were oppressed throughout history. This is feminist history. This is mainstream history, right? They never look at
What about all those that the claim feminists make about female scientists getting suppressed and nonsense like that?
Yeah, the Matilda effect, right? So they want to say, oh, there's like all kinds of female geniuses throughout history that were suppressed and that were ripped off by male scientists who stolen their work. Like, the thing is, okay, so one example they bring up is Rosalind Franklin, right? And they say, oh, she was ripped off by her male colleagues, right? And she didn't get a Nobel Prize. But the problem is she died before she could actually get a Nobel Prize. And the Nobel Prize is not given to someone who's dead, right? Posthumously. So this has nothing to do with misogyny, and also she was properly and appropriately credited by her male colleagues, right? And the photo she was actually famous for was actually taken by a man. I forgot his name, but you can read it on Wikipedia, right? So there's all kinds of examples like this where feminists claim that a woman was suppressed by male scientists when it actually is out of context nonsense, right? And it's based on cherry picking anyway, because even if there were such cases, right, you cannot say this is then a systematic issue, or even you cannot even say that this is a gendered issue, because there were also male scientists competing with other male scientists, or probably even female scientists ripping off male scientists as well. You can find those cases in history, probably, right?
There's female scientists stealing the positions of male scientists right now due to affirmative action.
Right.
Right. So there's structural violence that feminist women are committing against men. Well, there's structural violence that feminists are. There's structural societies that women can commit structural violence against men. This is done by feminism, and they're complaining about something that happened in the past that's not even real. It's all projection of their own hostility towards men, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. So
this is the feminist reinterpretation of history that he's talking about, and that this socialist guy wants more of, right?
Yeah,
he wants more of that.
Yes, that's euphemism for a lie, feminist lies then. It's a euphemism.
Yeah. What exactly does spooky socialism want? So he just did his work debunking a piece of feminist reinterpretation of history. But now he's for feminist reinterpretation of history. This is so weak. So this is why socialists just let us down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really good. Like, absolutely, they're subject to sexism and misogyny that had they been men, they wouldn't have faced. But they are still agents,
right? Bullshit. I call bullshit. That's special pleading. So basically, the king was executed alongside his queen. So that even that in of itself debunks that. It's special pleading when you think about it. What they're implying is that it's a transgression that a woman gets executed, but it's okay when a man does. That's what it's basically implying. So no, she actually received equality. She got executed alongside her king.
Yes.
Period. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure if we looked at like stats from back in the day, I'm pretty sure more men were executed and tortured back in the day.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure this is the case.
Yes.
Right. And yeah, so more violence throughout history is against men. This is a fact.
I mean, we see examples today where the death penalty is still in effect. It targets both genders, but it's overwhelmingly men getting executed.
And in Iran, it's about 38 women a year getting executed, or 40. And it's about 1,000 men.
Yes.
Right. There's magnitude order the difference per year. So you can't even compare it.
And the feminist media is there lying. They say, "Oh, Iran is just evil in targeting women to execute them." Yeah.
Yes.
agency within systems. With that agency, they do actually engage in treason and things that are bad. At what point do feminist reimaginings of history just become like liberal fan fiction? Oh my god, Marie Antoinette was a girl boss. You know, she literally did nothing wrong. Like, look at this. The audacity to dress up in Marie Antoinette cosplay and be like, Marie Antoinette literally did nothing wrong. And I'm like, girl, she literally did treason. Do I think it was right for the French revolutionaries to slander her with like incest? No, you know, you can quote me on that. I think it was bad to execute her for made up reasons. You know, they should have executed her for valid reason, you know, the valid reason, which is treason. You know, ContraPoints is just so well known for like being intellectual and like having her sources straight and doing all this. Like, this is just bad history, right? Like, this is such bad, superficial history that doesn't actually look at the French Revolution as a process of radical.
Yes.
Feminist history is bad history. I mean, how
Yes.
many times did feminists claim this bullshit about the rule of the thumb, right?
Yes.
This or prima nocta, right?
Yes.
Feminists constantly claim this still to this day, even though it has been debunked years ago.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Radicalization as a give and take, with the monarchy being so intransigent that the revolutionaries eventually degraded into conspiratorialism and radicalization. It's just like this mindless, oh my god, Marie Antoinette was a girl boss. I have a lot of thoughts on the Envy video, especially looking at ContraPoints now and just how like pathetic she's become with her.
So we've also got her incel video in store.
Let's
right?
carry on watching this. Yeah. We'll carry on watching.
Terrible take on Palestine and her like open reactionary conservatism. In retrospect, Envy, that video I just showed, was ContraPoints' turn towards conservatism. The thesis of the video was fundamental.
No, pause. A turn against conservatism was attacking incels, lying about, smearing them. So it's
And men,
yes,
Yes.
yes.
No-
So the incel label is used by mentally ill, low-status men who are socially isolated. It drives a lot of them crazy. Men are human beings. Human beings are social creatures. Low-status men who are socially isolated, who don't have friendships, who don't have girlfriends, who don't have extended family, right? And extended families, like let's say someone's unattractive to women and they never get a girlfriend physically. That's one thing. But these are men set up to fail and they don't even have extended families or they have families. She's how women have shaped the family structure and given them a polished social life. So it drives these men insane, right? It drives them insane, in my opinion. So I think atomization has got a lot to do with the incel culture, right? And it's a very solipsistic, it's anti-intellectual. There's no systematic structural analysis coming from the incels, right?
No.
But they are a neurodivergent community. So like just slandering them is actually punching down, in my opinion.
Yes.
yeah, there's no good, or there's barely any good leftist analysis on incels actually outside of our community, right?
Yes.
They're basically the Marxist term is lumpen proletariat, right? So they're
Yes.
like at the fringes of society,
Yes.
marginalized, often mentally ill men, right?
Yes.
Deselected, often unemployed, or often low wage.
And
Right.
we're going to talk about this unemployment. The unemployment is just not something that happened out of the blue. The character of these men did not suddenly change. Human nature doesn't change, right? The environment that humans live in change, right? And men are suffering structural violence where they are made to be unemployed, right? And pushed out of higher education. So their status rate, that structural violence committed by feminism and by women against men. Okay, and it drives men to early suicide and death and mental illness and poverty and misery.
Yes.
Right.
Intentional.
Yes. Okay.
Conservative. ContraPoints was essentially arguing that left-wing politics is driven less by a desire to liberate than resentment / envy / hunger. Once the revolutionaries have destroyed, you know, their target, they've destroyed the monarchy, they've destroyed the king, that they turn against each other. You know, the revolution eats its own. And that's like a fundamentally conservative view. Never mind the revolution's achievements.
Yeah. So I just want to point out the parallel again. Her conservative talking point is similar to the feminist talking point about men's rights politics, right? So they
Yes.
say men's rights politics is driven less by a desire to liberate men, but more
Yes.
by misogyny and hating women and being resentful and things like this. This is what feminists say, and this is also
Yes.
what conservatives say about leftists who complain about billionaires and capitalism.
Yes.
Yes. Like not that the system is set up to destroy our livelihoods, like poor men's livelihoods. Yeah.
So feminism is the forces of reaction, right? Females are the gender bourgeoisie, right? Capitalism is feminism, and feminism is capitalism,
Yes.
right? They're one and the same. So
Yes.
imperialism is feminism as well, therefore.
Yes.
So feminism is actually one of the most reactionary hate movements that ever exist. And it's also the most insidious because people just let their guard down around it, give it a pass. Left wingers let these reactionaries into the movement and give them a pass. This person's seen an example, it doesn't make the obvious leap of logic, right? Like, it's like, I had this weird rationalization mechanism around feminism, but I was soon knocked out of it because when he just lied over and over again, it's like, even I had a lot. So I can understand this false consciousness at first. I can make excuses. Like, one or two times you rationalize it away. But by my mid-20s, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? There's a repeated pattern, right? And I eventually woke up. So there's no excuse for this. Like, if you see this repeated transgressions by feminists, right, violating their own stated principles that they've been caught lying about repeatedly, there's only one obvious conclusion to make, especially when you analyze their behavior as well, what they actually do. Like you get feminists like women in the House of Lords calling for a male-only curfew openly.
Yes.
Yeah. What, okay. Well, it's obvious what feminists actually are,
Yes.
and the feminist media defended it as well. The many feminists, it's not like, oh, this is one lone feminist nutcase. She doesn't represent us. The media basically said, oh yeah, she's making a point about violence against women. Basically, they supported what she said. So this is not like a one-off incident. This is systematic. The feminist lying in the media as well. Feminist disinformation in the media. Countless amounts of disinformation about court cases and incidents. Right? Too many countless. Like the Cyprus rape case, the Chet Evans rape case. Those are two examples of blatant disinformation. The Amber Heard case, blatant disinformation. In the right-wing media, when the right-wing media lies about events like this, the Marxists and left-wingers, right, call it out, but they give feminism a pass. This is a pattern of behaviour.
Yes.
So let's carry on.
For example, the French Revolution, of course, fucking actually abolished slavery. The French Revolution wasn't like the fake American Revolution where they kept slaves. And so the reason I talk about this, so I've had this thought for years, you know, this has been living rent-free in my head for years. When I first saw this video, I put out this tweet that said, Marie Antoinette did not do nothing wrong. For fuck's sake, she literally plotted to leave the country, start a civil war, kill hundreds of thousands, and destroy the revolution that liberated the country from feudalism. Pretty clear cut, no pun intended. She was guilty. And then people were like, who said that she did nothing wrong? Even the most ardent monarchists usually don't like her that much. And I said it was a hot take from the recent ContraPoints video that's based on bad French Revolution history. Look at the date, guys. This is 2021. This is the funniest part of this interaction. Someone says, I don't think ContraPoints ever said Marie Antoinette literally did nothing wrong ever. And then I have a screenshot from the video of her saying, so Marie Antoinette.
Yes.
This reminds me of feminist gaslighting. So they'll claim something and you provide a screenshot evidence right away, and they'll hand wave it away right in your face, right? So it's malicious pig-headedness. Basically, it's not ignorance; it's just pure maliciousness and gaslighting because they know deep down this is what feminism is actually about, and they want to pretend it's not.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Deny reality and make you waste your time engaging with them. While they just tell falsehoods, yeah.
Yes.
It literally did nothing.
Okay, let's watch the ContraPoints. The first minute or so of the ContraPoints incel video.
Yes, let's do this.
Because we're going to show another example of ContraPoints lying.
Yes.
Imagine how a woman feels. Imagine how soft and warm her skin feels.
I want to say something to ContraPoints here. All right, this is very important. ContraPoints, check your notifications. Just sorry, I couldn't help that.
Yeah, yes. Sure. being lazy to people who contact you, yeah.
Sweet smell of her perfume. Imagine her tenderly pressing her soft lips against yours. Imagine her letting you get on top of her and insert your inside her, softly moaning as it slides in. Imagine the walls of her tight, soft, warm wrapped around every inch of your. Imagine her breathing getting heavier with every thrust. Imagine her wrapping her arms and legs around you, holding you as close as she possibly can, and begging you to inside her.
Pause. I
as
just want to
you-
say something.
Yeah.
This is very similar to romance novel tropes that women read. So this is
Yes.
trying to shame this post as creepy,
Yes.
right? So men expressing sexuality is creepy, but women is not. It's empowering. There's a double standard there.
Yes. This is because this story is meant to be told as like a sort of threat narrative. Yeah.
Yes.
Release every ounce of your into her. Then imagine the feeling of pure satisfaction and peace that comes afterwards, and looking beside you to see a person that cares about you and has accepted you in the most intimate way
I want
possible.
to pause here. I just want to point out something about intimacy, right? Women can do this, then they can switch it off like it's nothing really fast. So I'm just pointing that out. So let's carry on.
You will never get to experience this because your skeleton is too small or the bones in your face are not the proper shape. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
So that pause. So it's a female worshipping post, and it's there to taunt incels as well. That's what the incel community mostly does. It's not a misogynist community. It's actually a misandrist community. Large
Yes.
elements of it. Yes, it's there
Yes.
to rub it in their faces.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. It's glorifying. It's glorifying women and how great it must be to interact with women. So
And it's going, you're not going to get this because your face shape is funny. So it's looksism as well. This is more proof that looksism is anti-male. So let's carry on.
Hello, boys. Let's talk about bone structure.
Pause in a second just when it's,
here we go.
misogyny. Misogyny. No such thing as misogyny.
No.
So,
Yeah. So bullshit right here.
There's something basically Soviet about the way the internet names things. Stalin had portmanteaus like Agitprop, Politburo, and Kompromat, and we have webinar, podcast, and incel. Short.
Yeah.
this is pretentious, like tenuous linking,
Yes.
basically, for no reason. So it's just really pretentious.
Yes. Links that make no sense.
For involuntary celibate. The word incel was invented in the late 90s by a lonely bisexual called Alana, who created a website called Alana's Involuntary Celibacy
So
Project.
pause. I actually don't believe this origin of the term incel. True, it's irrelevant. Just because it was made by a bisexual female, because like a bisexual female is not going to be alone by choice. She's going to have a standoffish, difficult personality. Then driving people away on purpose, and all she has to do is turn it off for a short while, and she'll be able to get intimacy on her own terms. Period.
Yes.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I've seen like fat, obese, and not even like cute BBW women, like really not nice facial shape BBW women, just feeding. They're just feeding, right? Like gluttons, and they got thousands of views, and they got men worshipping them. Literally, women just existing to get attention and worship,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as-
Yeah,
Go
there's
ahead,
no such thing as a female incel. They have always choices, always options.
Yes.
Inceldom is a male phenomenon. So there's this
Yes.
story about the incel started by women is just there to like for females to
Validate.
claim. Yeah. Yeah.
Validate, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was essentially a safe space for people who just couldn't get it in. But in our own miserable moment of internet history, the word incel refers to a more specific community of mostly heterosexual men, centered around forums like incel.me and r/braincells. This group has recently gotten a lot of bad press because for the last few years they've been churning out mass murderers fast.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
So okay, the Elliot Rogers massacre, right? That wasn't an incel. Okay, I don't know about the middle one. Okay.
And
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know. That's a school. That's a school shooting. That probably wasn't an incel one. That's probably a lie. The Toronto van attack. That was a white nationalist. Okay, he was married from what I remember, and he tried to recruit incels online, and they weren't interested. So it shows they weren't inclined that way at all. So per capita population, they're probably one of the least violent. They're one of the least violent segments of the population, right? But they're also most stigmatized because paradoxically, because they are the least violent, so people are not scared of them, and therefore they're fair game for abuse. That's actually what's going on there, right? If you've seen it, it's the same with the furry community. If you're seen as meek and harmless, that's when people start the threat narratives against you to justify their hatred. The real hatred is because they're weak. That's all. So this is disinformation right here. So
Yes.
I'm willing to bet the middle case is not an incel mass attack. I'm 100% sure about the other two. They're not. Elliot Rogers is not an incel mass attack, and the Toronto van attack was not an incel attack. So this is misinformation and lies about Natalie
Yes.
Portman. So this is. She did it in the other video, and she did it in this video. There's enough evidence to dismiss whatever she says completely. And pay no attention to her. She's a liar.
Yes. So
I don't think we need to watch
no,
anymore.
we've watched the
Okay.
extent of what we need to. So I mean, nothing good is ever spoken by Natalie Wynn.
Yes.
So
And this is what happens when she supports the Zionist genocide in Palestine, and left wingers are acting so shocked. But she's shown her reactionary colours for years. But just because her target is men, right, and
Yes.
incels, you've tolerated it because the left wing has got a misandry problem.
yes,
Okay, and it needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, if you don't admit the truth about hypergamy and how men are treated, and male hostility and male apathy, you don't admit this truth, that socialism and communism is going to get nowhere. It's not going to achieve anything ever. So reactionary forces have got every single motive to support feminism, and they do, right? They got a long track record of supporting feminism. Yeah, like all these what's it call it? Foreign aid, all these foreign aid groups, a lot of them are feminists, right? They use feminism as a false threat narrative against Afghanistan. They use it against Iran, right? Oh, they mistreat the women, therefore we got to bomb and invade them. Yeah,
yes,
and also the feminist Green parties that are imperialist and support NATO. The feminist government of Sweden joined NATO, right? And Finland as well. Okay,
yes,
so feminism has a long track record of being reactionary, imperialist, warmongering, and genocidal.
yes. Feminism. It's a near matching image with Western imperialism and
And I
capitalism.
think,
And also,
Shilton, you've done videos on this. You've done videos on this very subject that are very important, and more people need to watch.
yeah, I've done 2 videos linking all kinds of feminist organizations to imperialist forces,
Yes.
right? And I also want to say that feminists have damaged, in particular, black men,
Mhm.
with the support of child support and a lot of these violence against women acts and things like this, like these domestic violence laws. They have
Yeah.
disproportionately harmed black men, and like part of the mass incarceration of black
Mhm.
men in the United States in particular is because of feminism, right?
Yes.
Institutional feminism, right? And
Yes.
child support laws,
And single
right?
motherhood as well, which is feminism plays a big. It's not completely feminism. A lot of it's to do with trad and no fault divorce, but feminists support it as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah. The divorce laws encourage women to just divorce, break up the family,
get child support, drive the father away, and single mothers are a failure when it comes to raising kids, especially male kids. That's the
Yes.
biggest problem in the black community. And
Yes.
by the way, feminists and right wingers have one thing in common as well, because I've noticed they do this a lot. Right wingers actually deny the single motherhood problem in the black community. I've seen like more than countless right wingers go, "Oh no, it's nothing to do with single motherhood. It's just that they're racially inferior." Right? So and feminists deny the problem as well. They see nothing wrong with single mothers. So it's
Yes.
like if a group of men failed like that, as much as women did, like single mothers did, there was any comparable male groups as single mothers when it comes to failure, feminists would be shouting it from the skies and reporting it all the time, doing studies on it and promoting studies everywhere to make men look bad. But because it's women doing it, no one looks shit. And I want to say something else as well. right? So it's tangentially linked, but I just want to state this before I forget. So I go to the supermarket every day, and there's a newspaper stand. And for the past week, every single day, I've seen a threat narrative story about a man raping a woman, or a man sexually assault, or a powerful man flirting with women, committing sexual misconduct. There's loads of crimes out there. So they don't cherry pick the mothers who murdered their children and put them on the front page, right? They don't show them, okay, or the women who kill male spouses and don't even get any jail time. They always put the male criminals on the front page. And it's always sexual violence stories as well, right? So why is this being done? Because it's a deliberate attempt to stigmatize men and degrade them. This is what feminism actually is, and this is another reactionary habit as well. This is what racists do. They plant stories with black criminals all over the front pages of their publications, right? And Nazis did that with Jews. It's the same threat narrative tropes that reactionary movements use. Feminism is a reactionary hate movement, and I'm going to say this as well: fuck Marxists and fuck left wingers for assaulting feminism. Fuck them.
Yes. Marxists have lost the plot. They don't know how to liberate men.
Yeah, men are the real proletariat. Men do most of the labor, the actual work in the economy. They pay most of the taxes. They also do most of the dangerous work, the industrial labor, right? Men are the industrial base of the world economy, basically.
Yes.
Right? And Marxists go, but what about reproductive, or what about what was it called? Unpaid labor, right? Unpaid labor. Okay, I did a video debunking this bullshit. This is absolute crap. Women are not housewives, live off the husband's wage, right?
Yes.
So the husband is working and he is supporting his family. He's not just pocketing his money, right, and letting his family starve. Like, what the hell, right?
Yes.
And there's many other problems with this concept. They're also not measuring the household chores that men actually do. They don't measure that. Actually, they don't do a fair analysis of this.
Yes.
Right? Like,
but you know what? If women did every single household, the electric wiring, they did all the bins, right? Even if they fucking decorate, put in the windows and plastered all the and told the roof, it still wouldn't compensate for the man working. She gets the benefit of the house. She gets to jointly own it and probably completely own it if she divorces, and she doesn't earn the money for the fucking house. Actually,
yeah.
In fact, the very least you could do is do you know what? At the very least you could do is build a fucking house. Matt, you know what I mean? Even if the man bought the land and she built a fucking house of her own hands, brick by brick, it still wouldn't compensate for the working, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's so unbelievably clear that men are the working class, the actual working class. And yet all we see from Marxists is this feminist nonsense.
Yes.
So when it comes to bourgeoisie proletariat, the bourgeoisie extract the surplus value from the proletariat. They're exploiters and parasites, right? Okay, women exploiting surplus labor for men, right, in a much worse way, actually, because they actually often do it out of sadism when they don't even make profit out of it. It's just due to social dominance. Okay, Marxists have got nothing to say about it, zero. So they're fucking hypocrites. There's actually been one or two Marxists who've this in the past, a really long time ago. But it's a real fringe minority group, and they're forgotten about. Okay, so modern day Marxism is a load of shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Marxists allowed feminism into the left and destroyed the left, and feminists defend female monarchs. They defend the systems of power. So
They defend capitalism as well. They defend imperialism. They defend wars. Feminism is a reactionary hate movement. So I'm done. By the way,
yeah,
you've got anything you want to say?
No, I just summed it up there.
You got anything to say, Shield?
No, I think everything was said pretty much.
All right.
Okay.
Over
Let's
and out.
end it here.
Yes.